Welcome to Charts Today. My name is David Linton, and today's edition for Tuesday, the 4th of April, comes to you from London. And we start by looking at currencies, then stock markets, commodities, and last of all, some US tech stocks. Dollar continues to rise. It's just um, been a bit of a sideways move for the last couple of trading days, but it is just starting to tick up again. No end to this column yet, so we can't actually say what the target will be until this column is actually locked. And that is when this run is over. But for the moment, it's still looking bullish. On the medium-term chart, we're just in this strange zone where we're bullish on the long and short-term chart, but the medium-term chart is just potentially bearish whilst we're below 101.50. So on that dollar index, that's another 1 point on the dollar index, so about 1%. And we don't really have any clear targets to that level either, so it's a bit hard to call still. Looking at the euro, we're seeing the euro just again as the dollar tests new highs. The euro is just testing this 106.50 level, and so that's quite key as well. And again, this downside column will give us a target once it's locked as well. The medium and long-term charts still look bearish for the euro. Japanese yen is quite interesting in that it's actually showing now coming through, and we're actually seeing the stronger yen, where the lagging line below the cloud means dollar weakness against the yen, strong yen, weak dollar. Stronger on the medium-term chart below the cloud, just now through on the medium term, the long term, and the medium term, and the short term we're bearish as well. So quite interesting. We don't have any clear downside targets. We do still have this very big upside target, but at the moment the dollar is pulling back quite significantly against the yen. I've also today covered the South African rand. A lot of political events going on there, and we're seeing the increase in the US dollar against the rand just by these big candles marching up the hill here. So the rand has actually been strengthening against the US dollar over the last few months, and then bang, we see this political event just change things. How does that look on the chart? Well, it's just starting to change the medium-term chart on the point and figure. We still have downside targets, and we do have long-term downside targets as well. We have an upside target of 15.16, which is a further 9.5% upside on the rand. So there may be more to play out on this short-term strength based on those political events. So just an interesting chart to put the latest political moves into context. Looking at sterling, sterling back below the cloud this morning, 124.33. We are still pretty bearish in the long term. The medium term is a bit mixed, but the short term is bearish again. If we move below this 123.80 level, we activate this downside target to 120, a further 3% downside. Looking at sterling against the euro, we see here how euro's just got the upper hand at the moment. Sterling is just coming off a little bit against the euros, so that's not a lot of change there. And then against the Swiss franc, very similar picture as you might expect. Against the Australian dollar, sterling remains the stronger currency, so the Aussie dollar falling a little bit still, but we do still have these downside targets, one activated. So quite key there for those medium-term targets. But there's a shortage of long-term targets on the chart, and this downside target to 155 is only activated with a move below 160, 180. So we need to see sterling go back below that level. Looking at US stock markets, the S&P 500 struggled a little bit yesterday, but we are just coming out of the cloud and the short-term price is certainly out, and we are just seeing the lagging line just now finding support in the cloud. So it's still a little bit mixed, but it's still looking more bullish than bearish. Certainly on the medium and long-term charts, very bullish. Nasdaq is well and truly out, so that's bullish on all three time frames, tech driving a lot of these moves. Dow Jones index hasn't quite come through the cloud on the short-term chart yet, so we're seeing that here, but it is looking still pretty bullish. The Russell 2000 is above the clouds, pulled back quite significantly yesterday, but it is still above the cloud and bullish on all three time frames. And the futures this morning down very slightly, about 0.2%, both on the S&P and the Nasdaq E-mini, so we may see the US market open a little bit lower. FTSE fell away yesterday. putting us back below the cloud on the short term. The long and medium term chart's still bullish. The same on the FTSE 250, really. A very mixed picture in the short term, but the medium and long term still bullish. The DAX fell away again yesterday, but is still bullish with all three charts above the cloud. And the Nikkei is just bearish in that short term, that stronger yen, weaker dollar having an impact on the Japanese market. Looking at the Hang Seng, we see here it's just holding on, as is Shanghai and India as well. We're just seeing that market really looking quite strong, running on all three time frames, bullish, bullish, bullish. The Australian market, again, some great upside targets for the short term, still running to the upside. Brent crude oil just pulling back this morning. We're seeing here we're just coming back through the cloud, so that will be interesting. Price has still got some work to do. A move below 52 would be bearish on the short term, and WTI a move below 49.50 would be bearish in the short term. So we're just seeing these charts coming off, having run a bit over the last week. US nat gas just coming back below the cloud, so this is now just pulling back to the $3 level. So we really are struggling to get motoring on nat gas for the moment. We're hitting some support on the price here around 325. Looking at some of the other commodities, looking at coffee below the cloud on the medium and short-term charts, and so that's still looking a bit bearish, but bullish on the long-term chart. Taking a look at sugar, we see here that we are just hitting new lows there. A lot of softs not looking great. Wheat just slightly up on the short term, and soybeans looking pretty bearish all round, with a really collapse in price in March, and certainly the medium-term chart looks terrible. Taking a look at gold, gold is running again. We've got a new upside target of 1267. That's another nearly 1% upside, and 1293. We're seeing these medium-term target is activated to 1395. The long-term target of 1530 still not activated, and there is a bit of a downtrend to fight here. But the cloud charts were above on all three charts, so still it's looking good again. Silver running to new highs as well, bullish on all three time frames. US Treasury yields fell quite heavily yesterday. We're at 2.33%. Last of all, look at tech. Apple still bullish above the cloud on all three time frames. Google is back in the game, back above the cloud. Amazon looking very bullish on all three time frames with some very good upside targets. Facebook just nudging that 143 level, but looking pretty good with a new target of 146 to aim for. We do have a downside target, but that of course is not activated until we move lower. Microsoft pulled back a bit yesterday, but still looks pretty strong on the medium and long-term charts. And Nvidia just in this range at the moment. So that's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.